My wife recently figured out my friend's wife was having an affair with me. 5 years ago, right after my divorce, I met this woman at a concert. She was a bit younger than me, but we hit it off and she wound up going to a bar with me and my friends after that show ended. It was a fun night and we exchanged numbers. At that time, I wasn't really using any social media except FB, and that was just to keep up with my kids' school and activities, so we never friend, just text each other. At first the texts were casual, a little flirty every once in a while, but nothing to suggest there was any interest in anything sexual. Turns out she only lived 20 minutes from me, but we never met up or saw each other. After a couple weeks of texting we figured out we were both going to be at the same concert again, but this time in another city. It was a guy weekend for me and a girl weekend for her. So, her and her friends met me and my friends before the concert. We did a little bar hopping together. Her and her friends were younger than me and my friends, and I was the only single one amongst my friends. My friends and I, noticed none of these girls were wearing wedding rings, so we assumed they were all not married. They were all younger than us and there didn't seem to be much interest outside of being friends. That was fine. At the time I wasn't interested in a relationship anyway. After going to a couple bars, we went to the concert. Her and her friends had floor tickets and me and my friends had seats. I thought that was the end of it for that night. After the concert, me and my friends went to a bar and then to our hotels. Right after I got to my room, this woman texted me and asked if I wanted to come have some more drinks with her. She was at a place close to my hotel, so sure, I agreed. I went back out expecting to see her and her friends, but it was just her. I don't even think I finished my drink by the time we were heading back to my hotel. It was awesome. When we got back home, she started coming over to my house during the day. I have a flexible job and most days work from my house. She travels around the area for her job, so she had time to come over during the day. She'd come over after my kids went to school and left before they got home. Some days she was at my house almost the whole time my kids were at school. Even if it wasn't my time with the kids, she was there during the same time, never at night and never during the weekends. It was just a FWB type relationship that was perfect for me. I was involved with my kids, even coaching 2 of their teams, so it never interfered with my time with them or my friends. Also, I wasn't looking for a relationship and definitely didn't want a relationship with someone that young that may want kids. I'm done having kids. I was upfront with her about how I felt, and she was fine with it. She said she wasn't looking for a relationship either. This went on for almost a year. Eventually I met someone, my now wife, and broke it off with her. She was fine with that too. We never text each other again. A year after I met my wife we got married. 2 years ago, I met this woman again at a neighborhood gathering. Me and my wife were introduced to her and her husband by a friend of mine. They had recently bought the house right next to his. When we first saw each other, it wasn't awkward or anything. We just smiled and said hi. I told my wife about our past when we got home that night. My wife is very understanding. We both accept that we both have had past relationships. No big deal. Her husband turns out to be a pretty cool guy. He starts hanging out with my group of guys' friends and we become friends too. This year he joined one of my fantasy football leagues, so he friends me on FB. After I friend him, he friends my wife. My wife takes a look at his profile and asks how long ago I was FWB with his wife. It was 5 years ago. She shows me a recent post that says he and his wife have been married 8 years. Comments, wasted_and_paradise says, this is one of those things that if it's floating around a newly formed close-knit group of friends it will probably come out sooner or later. If it were me I think I would probably jump that girl's ass in private and ask her exactly what the fuck the deal was back then and take what I was going to do about it from there. It could be she was fucking around on her husband or there could be a legit explanation. I think I'd clear that air first and proceed with whatever information I got from that. If her explanation sounds innocently shady, I'd probably ask her if it was okay if I talked to her husband about it just to make sure she wasn't screwing around. If this dude is your friend, he's probably going to get a little pissy finding out you were screwing his wife, knowingly or not. 3 years into their marriage and you knew all this information and never said anything. I'd respect a guy for explaining the situation and having enough respect to come to me with it. I'd be mad as fuck if I found out my buddy did and knew all that and never said a word. Just let me play along like a fucking chump. My ex and I met in college. She was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen. She always had a crowd of guys following her around. I had some classes with her over the 4 years, but I never pursued her because, well, all the other guys. One day after class, she asked if I would study with her, and the rest is history. So we married, starting our careers in the same industry, different companies, a male-dominated industry. I found immediate success while she struggled. She changed jobs in the first year. She continued to struggle. In the third year she became pregnant with our first son. She worked through the pregnancy. A few weeks after giving birth, in a routine physical, her doctor asked to do a biopsy of her cervix. The results came back as precancerous cells were found. The doctor advised if we wanted more children to do it as quick as possible, as this will progress and a hysterectomy will be needed eventually. So when she was up to it, she became pregnant again. She gave birth again to a boy, within a year of each other. Afterward more tests were done and different DRs advised to do the procedure now, as we should not wait. With 2 babies, still infants, she had her procedure done. She was heartbroken that she was done having children, as we had wanted a large family. She poured herself into being a great mother, and she became a som. She took care of everything at home. Meanwhile, my career was moving along. I was offered a position with another company with a large salary bump. Life is good. When the boys went off to school, she volunteered at school and was a fixture there. I should mention that we had close friends we went to school with, A and B. We saw each other often. They started their family about the time we did. They have 1 son. The families went on vacations together, dinner, outings. We were best of friends. After the son was born, the mother went back to work and is very successful. B had a good job also until about 2001, where his job was eliminated. He struggled to find work in his field as the economy back then really affected his field, so the decision was he would be a SAHD while looking for work where we lived. As they did not want to move, the X and B did things together with kids. When the kids were all in school, they still hung out. You can now guess they had an affair. This story I know is long but not over. After about a year of this, hot sex in the AM, B asked X if she and I had ever talked about a threesome. It was all fantasy talk with us, as we were still having a great, if not slowing down, sexual relationship. B had a friend he wanted to bring into the bedroom with them. The X agreed. The day came and this guy, C, came over to B's house. He took his suit off his X and B got warmed up. So they had their threesome. Afterward the guy told them that he usually had to pay for sex, so he left a couple $100 bills and asked X if he could have a 1-1 with X. She told him she needed to think about that and B would get back to him. Eventually C recommended someone else and a business was born. Eventually, B was re-employed and had to leave X on her own. She used a different cell phone. She rented out a storage unit and made it her closet/office. She used the money to buy outfits her clientele requested. She even bought a car. She did not want her minivan spotted at a hotel. The guys had to pay for a room at a nice hotel. She kept the car at the storage unit. Everything was in cash. She never brought the money into our lives that I know of, though we would send the kids to different day camps during summer. She claimed she tightened up our budget to pay for it. She only worked during school hours. She always picked the boys up at school. On a few rare occasions B would pick them up and keep them until she got home. Our home life never suffered. I admit I was working a ton and moving up the ladder. The weekends were our family time. Sex was generally on the weekends. I thought because of my work life this worked best. Most nights we would cuddle on the couch watching TV. Almost done. 2016 comes along. We have 1 son in college, the other is senior in HS. I get a call from B. X is in the hospital. He was vague but said she is hurt bad. I rush to the hospital. My wife is hooked to a bunch of machines. They have already cleaned her up and taken her for x-rays. She has a broken jaw, broken nose, fractured orbital bone, possible concussion. She will make it but will be a long road ahead. A police officer was finishing up and left. I of course want to know what happened. She was crying, talking gibberish through her sobs and pain meds. A nurse said I should let her rest. They were moving her to a room soon. She handed me a bag with her clothes. I looked in and asked if these were hers because she never wears heels and the dress was unfamiliar. The nurse said this is what they brought from the hotel room, so they pushed me out of the room. I called my sons to let them know. Later that night, when the fog of the drugs were wearing off, I got some of the story. She drifted off again. I had my youngest son sit in with her and I called B. Why did he call me? How did he know before me? What's going on? So B came clean about what my wife was up to, leaving out the affair and his involvement. I was devastated. We eventually get her home after surgery on her jaw. the nose would wait. She convalesced at home. As she got stronger I got the whole story. I called A and told of the affair, and B as a pimp, she threw B out. As she got on her feet, I told her we were done. I asked her to move out. She moved in with B. I got the divorce rolling. I am sitting here 5 years divorced. I still love her. It is as if she had died. The grief is unbearable. My boys know what she did. I have not spoken to her since she left.